Dear Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to serve you as we serve our neighbors and our friends and our communities. We pray that you'd give us wisdom and guidance as we go through this process each day, as we seek to do what's in the best interest of this state and our communities. In Christ's name I pray, amen. All right, we're going to have a relatively brief meeting today, I think. I want to take care of a few items of business. First of all, welcome to our new members. We have 3 new members aside from the chair this year, and they are Representative Katie Dempsey, who told me she was going to be late. She was in another meeting. And also Representative Darlene Taylor and Representative Bill Hitchens. Welcome to the committee. They were just added by the speaker yesterday. So welcome to those guys. I know they're going to be a great addition to the committee. And to the members, Abby has some forms she's going to hand out. They're in your folders. That are for they're for your request for subcommittee appointments or changes. Anything you'd like to do or have changed with regard to the subcommittee assignments, please just fill that out and give those back into Abby, and we'll take care of those requests. And hopefully, this time next week, we'll have a new list for the subcommittee assignments. Yes, we have a vacancy in the Railway and Transit Subcommittee Chairman's position. Thank you very much. Thank you for volunteering. So let me talk a little bit about the plan for the next few weeks and what I think you'll expect to see come up in this committee. Next week, we're not entirely sure about the committee schedule. We don't know if this committee will meet or not, just based on the budget hearings. But at this point, we're kind of tentative for next week. I don't expect to have anything substantive to have to deal with next week anyway. But then moving out the next week on the 28th, at that meeting, I'm going to ask Representative Nimmer, who I just saw out on the street playing hooky from this committee, which does not bode well for him and his presentation. He's going to be presenting the findings and recommendations from the special subcommittee on truck weights, and that'll be on the 28th. And then on the 4th, we're going to have an opportunity for public comment on the truck weights discussion. And we will get to a vote maybe that day, and it may be another day, maybe another week after that. We'll kind of play that by ear. Also, I've had the opportunity to kind of go around and give some talks around the state about House Bill 170 and what we did in the bill and what it does and doesn't do, and kind of give folks a glimpse of what we hope to do work on this year. And one of the things that I have told folks is I have a real interest in helping to develop a statewide transit policy. And we don't have a statewide transit policy. Well, we have bits and pieces of statewide transit policy, but we don't have a real coherent statewide policy for transit. And we want to have a good, robust discussion on that this year, and certainly leading into next year. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to put together a study committee to look at really preparing a solid statewide transit policy in the next few years. That study committee will start its work this year during the interim. But as I've started that discussion and really tried to talk to a lot of different interested parties in transit policy, it has become evident. If you didn't know it already, I can tell you there are a lot of interested parties and lots of moving parts on transit policy. So to help us get started on the right foot, I want to make sure we have a study committee resolution that gives some guidance to the study committee itself in terms of what it needs to be looking at, and help them not to go off on wild tangents and looking at things that really aren't focused on transportation and transit policy as a statewide matter. So to that end, I'm going to actually set up a special subcommittee for transit policy. Now, it's going to have a very limited purpose, and it's going to act quickly, and that very limited purpose is to actually draft the study committee resolution that will then be presented. And again, that committee, the special subcommittee for transit policy, is not tasked with coming up with a transit policy that we will consider. They're just tasked with putting together the study committee resolution and making sure it has the right language in it to cover the bases that we need to cover. I have a note on my desk in my office that says exactly what I want to say next. But that note is not here in front of me, so I have to make it up as I go. No, the committee is going to be chaired by Representative Harrell, and I left you a voicemail to that effect about an hour ago. I hope you got it, and we'll talk about that more. And unless you say you don't want to, and if you don't want to, that'll be on you. But you can bow out. Let's see, and the vice chair of that committee is going to be Representative Gardner. And the rest of my note was all the other members I was going to appoint to that committee. So we'll be publishing that. We'll be publishing that no later than tomorrow, and I'll be sure and make sure that all the members who are on that committee get contacted about it. And I apologize for that. I brought half my notes and not all of them. And what we'd like to do is have a report back from that committee. I'd like to aim for about February 11th as our date to hear back on that committee's report. So we don't have any bills to take up today, and the only other thing we're going to do today, I've asked Josh Waller from the Georgia Department of Transportation to walk us through the website that the governor rolled out in his press conference on Tuesday. After the press conference, we had a lot of members who asked for help going through the website. I said at the press conference it was simple enough for a state representative to figure it out, but I may have spoken too soon for some of my colleagues. But we're going to give the floor to Josh Waller for a few minutes and kind of help us through that process, and then that'll be all we have for today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also, I've got a copy of the talking points that were provided at the summary. If y'all want to bring those. And again, that's just a summary of the documents that were the poster boards that were part of the governor's presentation on Tuesday, as well as some of the key points that underline that, so to provide that to you. Obviously, a big piece of it was the transparency piece, which is www.georgiaroads or GA roads. Let's see. Alrighty. GAroads.org. Always fun trying out technology in front of a crowd, right? Duly noted. So I know I have been warned that the internet connection here might not be the fastest. Well, so when people input garoads.org, capital G, doesn't matter if it's capital G, but capital garoads.org, it actually ports it to a DOT website, and there we go. And then it has some of the documents, again, that were provided at the beginning of this week, those big posters. They're here. There's also some information that was geared towards industry. In November of last year, we actually held an industry forum, and there's some documents we provided them to give them about an 18-month forecast in 6-month tranches to anticipate what work would be coming. It's actually a little bit even more comprehensive than the list that was covered that was sort of state funds, because it also has some local projects that may be tied to a federal project. So it's a much more comprehensive list. So to address any confusion that comes out of that, that's what that PDF is. It was to let industry know what's coming so we can so they can get prepared, and so hopefully we can maximize competition and get the best prices for Georgia citizens. So those are up there. Then you go to the project search, which has been the key function that everyone has wanted to test out. And to give some sense, I know some people said, well, is this specifically just quote HB 170 projects? I think there's a challenge there to identify something purely as HB 170 for the sheer fact that the bill mostly dealt with motor fuel. So really you're talking about motor fuel. Motor fuel effects is in most of the projects. So what this does is offers the user the opportunity to sort of search by whatever category they want. So you have county, obvious. You've got project type, which, let's see, pull those up. Well, so it gives you different work types. So you can search by maintenance project, capital construction project, and then fund source would be federal or state funds. So it actually has, when you do the drop down, it should pull them up, but I guess the web is it's taking its time here. But then you can search by congressional district or state house district or state senate district. So if we want, we'll go ahead and pull up any volunteers for a state house district. And then click search. And then it'll pull up. And then there's a guide up at the top. If it's blue, that means it's in the pre-construction phase. That means they're doing preliminary engineering as well as acquisition of right-of-way. And then if it's red, then it's actually under construction. And then it provides a list of the projects down below. One thing, as we've had different experiences with the website over the past couple of days, is that we're going to add a button over to the top of it that's going to say print the list, so that when you hit the list, it's going to populate a PDF version of all the projects, so you don't have to scroll through multiple pages if you just want just the list. And it'll have the details of project description, date, estimated budget. Now again, remember, a lot of these estimates are budgets, or these budgets are estimates. So that we're anticipating, hopefully, that once it's actually put to bid, you get an even better price. But that's what planning, when you do the STIP or TIP, they have to budget an amount they think that the project will cost. So that's what you're seeing there. So hopefully it comes in much lower. But right now you can also, once the print the list button is up, you'll be able to look at just the list of projects. But then you can hit the project ID, and it'll pull up the project sheet, pre-construction status report, which these are actually all documents we've maintained. Actually, prior to this website, we had a similar version. It's called GeoTrack. So we took GeoTracks and we built on it for this purpose. But people have always been able, to some degree, to search projects, transportation projects throughout the state. So it'll give you more details about its status, and what its schedule is, fund source descriptions, and so forth. And I bet if you pulled out your smartphones right now, you could get it pulled up faster than this thing's pulling it up right now. Just to believe me, if you're like, DOT doesn't have its act together on this website. It's just basically the internet. I tried to pull it up and it went to GDOT. So the GeorgiaRoads.org, it actually then ports you to a GDOT site. Oh, okay. So that's not an error, that's intentional. So GARoads.org and GARoads.com. It's also dot.ga.gov/TFA. So it's not quite pulling up the staff report right now, but if there are any, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you want to entertain any questions.
Sure. Anybody have any questions? Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you, Josh.
Good to see you.
Quick question. Can you give us an update on the disparity study? Where are we, and how long before it's going to be completed, or where we are?
It's in process. I know that some of the key data is in and they're doing the analysis with the final results on the federal piece. The state piece is still ongoing, but we should have, in the near future, I'd need to confirm the specific timeline, but we should be close to having the kind of the final results for the federal piece in the immediate future, next month or so.
Can you, when you get a chance, bring me up on the state piece too? Because I don't know where that is. Okay.
And just to add to that, once with the data used for the federal piece will go very much hand in glove with the state. So it's not going to be an extensive period beyond that, because a lot of that data will just really be ported over. I would anticipate.
Thank you, sir.
Representative Prince.
Hey, Josh. Following up on Representative Williams' question there, on this website, would we be able to see exactly? I know once it's lit, we see who has it, but will we be able to see something that shows if minority participation or anything like that is in there as well?
It's and so if you were to look at a particular project, you could determine what it's
like who's the contractor and
let me check back with
what
them,
percentage of if there is.
So the way it works now is we've got this overall goal, but with each project they do an evaluation based off geography. They assign a specific goal for that project. So while one project may have a 1% goal, another project may have a 30% goal. That helps get you to the ultimate percent you need at the end of the year for total. It may be possible that they could that information might be possible to be ported to this as well, but let me take that back.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Looks like you've got the website loaded.
Yeah, so it just pulled up sort of the background information, project ID, who the project manager is, location, the project type, reconstruction, rehabilitation. So you got option get design plan documents, pre-construction status report, construction status report. So this is if you want to do a much more deep dive on it. Again, like I said, when you go back to that main page with that list of projects, we're going to provide a button for you to print the list, is what it's going to say. Make it pretty straightforward, and it'll generate a PDF with all the projects that your query has pulled up. So, but the decision here is that way you have, as a user, with all those filters that we have, the decision: do you want to see federal only? Do you want to see state only projects? Do you want to see capital reconstruction, maintenance? It puts it in your hands as to what you want to see. Because sometimes, like art, they say art's in the eye of the beholder. Determining how the benefits of the bill, to some degree, might be in the eye of the beholder, because you might have a project that's federal only, but it's been advanced because some federal funds have been moved off of a project we're funding with state dollars. So it's benefited from that project, from another project being 100% state funded. So the benefits sort of multiply throughout the program.
Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Representative Prince's point, that seems like an ideal place to put the progress of the minority participation numbers. It would seem like that would be ideal. As a place you're going to be digging, it seems like to me.
And I'm going to go back and check. So right now you've got these documents like the pre-construction status report that are being populated by the program managers. And so the way our IT folks do this is they just pull from those fields. That's the most straightforward way to do it. To be able to capture everything, you take the existing tracking documents, and provided that we just incorporate that in, they should be possible to do. And it may be that somewhere in those documents, a DBE participation number is already present. They just need to pull it to the website. If it's not, then there'll be another dynamic of at what point is the goal established such that they know that they need to go update the report so that the report can then pull and then port to this site for you. Wish I could give you a better answer than that, but I'm not an IT guy. I'm just the guy they stuck in front of the computer to make it look like I know what I'm doing.
Well, the good thing is that means you don't have to be an IT person to run this program, run this website.
Well, there you go.
So, any other questions? All right, thanks, Josh. And the point, again, is that anybody can get this information. You don't have to be an elected official, and you don't have to be a tech expert to get in there and get the data you need. So hopefully that will really advance the transparency piece we were trying to advance in House Bill 170. So I found my list of notes that I thought were on my desk. They were actually in my briefcase. So here are the additional members of the Special Subcommittee for Transit Policy. They're going to be Mandy Ballinger, John Carson. I already said Pat Garner is the vice chairman. Brett Harrell is the chair. Daryl Jordan, Brian Prince, Dale Rutledge, and Ed Setzler, and Bill Hitchens. And if any of you have a problem with that, come see me and we'll talk about it. Anything else from any of the members? All right, the meeting is adjourned.